Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Tonight, my plan is to go through and catch up on a lot of the material design and Xaml stuff. Hopefully, I think I've got my noise filter set appropriately. It is really hot where I'm at right now, and so I've got my AC unit running, and it is louder than all get out. So, hopefully it is not too much of a distraction tonight. Um, the material design and XAML stuff has, unfortunately, I've ignored it for a little bit just due to my other projects that I've been playing with. So for those people interested, go check out my prior streams, specifically the one with John and Diego using .NET Interactive to effectively give you a Snoop-like REPL inside of your WPF app. So for those people who are interested, that pull request did get merged into the samples inside of .NET Interactive. Hooray! And I've been playing around with looking at pushing it a little bit further, even potentially going as far as adding in Snoop integration. So we'll see how that plays out. But tonight I think we're going to catch up on some material design and XAML stuff because I have been neglecting it, and it should not be neglected. There was an issue last week where our key that we were using to push NuGet packages expired, and unfortunately I don't have direct access to that. So I had to wait for a little bit while James, the project owner, actually went in and generated me a new key. But we got that in, and NuGet packages are once again flowing. So huzzah. So I wanted to start off with, I'm going to switch here real quick. So I'm planning on doing most of the pull requests if we can, but this issue here, this one I wanted to specifically look at because this one I find to be really interesting. So this guy here is going through and showing that an intermediate loading progress bar while simultaneously querying the database. After the user clicks a button, the UI is blocked, and only after a query returns the progress bar is shown, but then it's too late. So just based on this description, I'm fairly confident what is happening is the querying is happening on the UI thread. So with WPF, you want to make sure anything that's long running, and by long running, I mean more than maybe a few milliseconds, is quickly pushed off onto a background thread. So C#, TPL using async and await and tasks are great for this because it easily lets you offload work, but then you have to kind of pay attention to what's going on. So I don't normally do this for all of the issues, but in this case, this seemed like a perfect one to go through and write up an example for. And so I've started over here. So for those people who are interested, I do have a GitHub repo that just grows over time. It's big. It keeps getting added too. So for those people who are interested, there it is there in the chat. So underneath me, the material design examples. So that's where all of these ones are going. But I've got, let's flip down here, this guy. So I've got this progress bar one that I've started playing with. And so what have we done? So the UI itself is fairly simple and straightforward, right? I've got a view model, a grid with 2 rows. The top row, I've got a progress bar that's going to go 0 to 100. I realize this is a little different than the is intermediate example that was presented above, but ultimately it's the same concept, right? Is intermediate, it just spins on its own and doesn't move across. You effectively have the same thing. It's bound to progress, vertical alignment center so that it lines up here. And actually, I've got the designer, so we can just look at this, right? I actually have my designer turned on. So we've got a progress bar across here, and then a little button to retrieve the data. And this guy's bound into a command. So if we go in here, we've just got a simple property that raises iNotify property changed. I am leveraging MVVM Lite. It's squawking about the dependency because, and actually I might just go turn it off real quick. Let's see here. If I go here, because MVVM Lite wasn't compiled with support for, or its NuGet package doesn't declare explicit support for Net Core App 3.1. Suppress warning, NU1701. However, I know that it will work just fine. So we're just going to suppress it and move on. What is your problem here? There you go. Yellow triangle, away. So that is how you deal with things that will work but aren't explicitly declared that way. So back to our view model. We've got a command, which is what the button is bound to. And this command simply does on retrieving data. And then when on retrieve data is called, it's going to set the progress to 0. This is done on the UI thread. It's going to await a task, and so specifically task run. This is one of the calls that will push stuff onto a background thread, right? So this will push it back, and then once that thing is done retrieving data, progress goes to 100. And so retrieving data, we're just simulating, right? We've got a random. I'm just putting in a delay of a half a second, and then I'm randomly grabbing some number between 0 and 10, or I guess 0 and 10, 10 non-inclusive, right? And adding it to progress until we get to 99, and then once this drops out, this guy goes to 100, right? Simple. So ultimately, what I wanted to do here is I wanted to go through and actually make, because right now, I'll show you how this looks. We'll just launch it. Proof's in the pudding. So bring this across. So we click the button, it goes, it walks itself across. You know, it's going to take itself 5-ish seconds, give or take a little bit. Which is a perfect time to snag a snack. And it finishes, and I kind of wish that this button was disabled while that was going across. I think that would be icing on the cake. So, conveniently, the iCommand interface already supports this. So it already has the idea of a can execute handler, which if you have the can execute handler set, what will end up happening is the button will disable whenever this guy returns false. So what I want to do here is just switch this over to a relay command, right? And then what I want to do is, so basically every time I toggle this bool, I basically want to raise that thing. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to come over here. We're going to do it, replace with methods. No. Convert to full property. That looks more like what I want. All right, so is running. That is not what we wanted. Something more like, oh, I guess I should probably do the appropriate rename so that the refactoring actually works. So boom, boom. All right, and what we'll do here, so you'll note this is a private property. This is intentionally made private. This is not something that I expect anyone to bind to. This is just here to effectively support this command state. So this could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be a property. Depending on your use case, you might have something else you can work with. The key part is you got something you can check to know if you're actually running or not. So after this is called, what I just want to do is say every time this property is set, retrieve data command, raise can execute changed. All right. So this will then tell the command, hey, requery your state because it might be different, right? Doesn't mean it will be different. It just might be. It's a maybe. Okay. So fire this off, and then hopefully this example works. And I think that'll be hopefully good enough to clear up this question. So back onto the right window. Look at that. Button nicely disables. As we go across, and we're done. Huzzah. I think all I'm going to do is leave one more comment down here because these examples, this is just a simple delay, replace with any long running operation such as file IO, database queries, or network calls, right? Anything long. Pretty much all IO should be moved on to it. And in C#, most IO calls at this point, unless you're on an older version of .NET Framework, have async overloads. So, easy mode. So we're going to clean up those usings, and let's just go over here and let's see. Adding an example showing background progress work. Boom, boom, boom. So we're going to commit and push that. And then let's go back to my guy here. And inside of progress bar, I'm going to have to refresh because now there's two samples in here. Background processing, I'm just going to grab it. So let's see. Sounds like the database query is running on the UI thread and entire app. I would suggest moving the query inside of a task.run to perform the work on a background thread. You can see an example here. Poof. So comment, we'll flag this guy up as a question, and then let's go look at some pull requests. Okay, pull request time. Let's see, update Azure icons. This one's always my easy go-to. Files changed, I can't imagine there's too much. So big diff, but it looks like just a bunch of new icons being added and some overloads for existing ones. Ooh, clear is being eliminated. Interesting. Or is it being moved on to something else? Ooh, looks like clear is just being straight up removed. If you were using it, you can go to the close. I do have a script that will outline all of the changes. So for those people who are interested in it, I do allow these breaking changes to go in without necessarily following Semver because they're pretty much an outside dependency. So it's always hard for me to tell. Let's see. Milestone. He's going in 3.2. Sounds good. Squash merge, and away we go. For people who are interested in seeing those icon diffs, I've hidden them over underneath the release notes. This is all auto-generated. So if you're curious, hey, what happened to my icon? When did it go away? The changes per version will outline new icons, icons with visual changes. So it does know the difference between if something has happened. Because ultimately, the icon data itself is not something within this library. It's pulled from materialdesignicons.net. Okay. Back to pull requests. Okay, this guy here. I think we're just on these three. Expander, rework, and performance. I think this one I've already looked at, so we might start here. This one's a simpler one. Or is it? It might be. All of these might require some work. Fix caret does not appear. When text content is empty, as below. I assume this is a small change. So this is just bumping the margin. It's interesting to me that the margin's being bumped up by 4. And then there's a trigger here on these conditions. So what happened here? These guys got moved out of whatever this trigger was. Has outlined. So based on whether is floating and is hint in floating position. That moves. Okay, so that's... Okay, so I think all of these are going to require some effort to dig through. So we will just start at the top and work. And by top, I mean chronologically. We'll just work through these. So let's start here. This is quite a large overhaul. Well, great. Let's do that. That is fine. I don't mind large overhauls. Let's see. Pull up on master. Wait. Pull. Thank you. Let's see. Turn some stuff off. Pull requests. Expander rework. Yeah. Go ahead and check that out. So it's not actually that old. And let's take a look. So this is specifically resolving this issue here. UI freeze when populating list view with expander. So the expander is one of those controls that's kind of a pain in the neck. I like that there's actually Performance evaluation for the provided project. So I do like that there was actual metrics against this. The one thing that I want to be cautious on is the expander. There's a little bit of a catch-22 where if the content of the expander is resizing, how the expander animates gets to be a little bit complex. So I'm a little curious how that ends up working, but we may end up just writing some tests for this. So horizontal header padding. So I'm just going to eyeball some of these changes real quick. So no real objections to that. It looks like there is a change with the attached property that's being used. Expander direction converter tests. I assume the converter is deleted. Yep. So the converter and its tests are gone. That's fine as long as it works. See, so expander assist. So the only thing interesting here is this is a breaking change. Yeah, I like this change, but it is breaking because if anybody was using these in their code, they're now broken. So we may do a little tweakage of this just to make sure that it can ship in 3.2.0 and then add the removal of it to the breaking changes in 4.0. Because these changes are fine, these are great. Lots of cleanup there. So yeah, so horizontal and vertical. So before they were different for left, right, top, bottom, and now there's just horizontal and vertical switches, which is fine. And then large diff. So this is going to be the interesting one. So a whole bunch of the check state transitions are removed. Okay. So I wonder if that's part of the performance changes, is not leveraging the transitions and actually switching. So target property angle, collapsed key time. So some of these things were moved in from here are declared as statics. I saw those at the top. So calling these out, which I do like these types of refactors, right? There's a lot of places where we, just in the storyboards, they really lend themselves to just hard coding, and that's usually the quick and easy way to do it. This has the convenience of making sure that everything, that you get the numbers right in all cases. This has the convenience of seeing it. I'm not overly picky. I think ultimately we'll probably need to standardize on one, but we'll see about that. So let's see. Chevron down, expand path. Oh no, this is just okay. So this is just renaming or reordering the parameters and some spacing, right? So same kind, same opacity, same name. Render transform origin is the same. So this just says any animations on this will be the rendering will be done about the center of it. So this is on the unit square. So 0, 0 being in the top left, 1, 1 on the bottom, or bottom right, and this saying if you're going to do, say, a rotation transform, do it here. So this cleans it up, because before, this is a fairly common pattern if you need to do a bunch of transforms across a WPF element. But clearly we weren't using them all, and we're just going straight to here. Because before, up here, what would happen is it would go into the render transform, into the transform group, extract an individual child, apply, which has to be the rotate transform, right? Update the angle and do all that. So it sounds, so just looking at this, it looks like that cleaned that up significantly. And then big deletions around here. So it looks like, yeah, the only problem I have, I like this cleanup, I do, but it is a breaking change, and I'm wondering, well, hold on, horizontal header style, right header style, left header style. I do wonder if I we might look again at putting in these styles with the same keys, just in the event that somebody's using them, so that it's not a breaking change, right? Because if it's going to be a full-on API breaking change, I've got to kick it out to 4.0. And I'd kind of like to keep this in. So let's see. This goes hunting up the ancestor tree, specifically ancestor level 1. I might double check. I think ancestor level 1 is the default, but I could be wrong. Let's see here. So content presenter looks like moved vertical alignment up. Margin got removed. Some of these are going to be a little bit harder to read. Content template selector. It's the same one. It just got moved around. Not sure where the margin got dropped, but that's fine. Toggle button, and I assume this is probably the fix. Expander direction. Yeah, because this is always the interesting one of why there used to be so many expander styles, is because the angle of that expander button had to either be pointing up, down, left, right. I realize on my camera I probably just did that backwards for everybody. Or I did it backwards for me, in which case I'm going to just claim that that was intentional. Let's see. Vertical style, once again, replaces what appears to be up and down. Vertical padding, expander, same type of thing. Cleans that up. That goes through there. This seems fairly simple and straightforward. There's not a lot here that I would see. Content sites. Okay, so this looks more interesting to me. So what are we inside of here? We're inside of a template for the expander itself. Okay, so this was cleaning up a bunch of the defaults. Great. Now we're just relying on that. Cleaned up a couple of the converters. Expand, visual transition, collapse to expanded. So when it's collapsed and going to expanded. Okay, so it's using a scale transform. I like. Content site scale transform. Oh, clever. Where's the target for this? Target, so I guess I want to know what that is, because that looks pretty cool. That, I'm guessing, is the key for how this is working. And there's a scale transform on the layout itself, or on the border, and it is a layout transform. So this is one thing that's worth noting, all right, is a layout transform, as it's animating, is going to shift your layout around, right? Whereas a render transform doesn't shift layout. But it also means that if you say do a render transform and just shift something to the right, okay? On that render transform, as far as the layout engine of WPF is concerned, your thing is still back over on the left where it started. It doesn't care that you rendered it over here. And I realize I probably just did that off screen. Over here. I should not move my... Here. I got a very small window on my camera. Whereas this is going to cause some shifting on stuff. But that is, in the case of an expander, that is desirable. And it's one of those, because you'll note before we had this massive layout transform on the content grid inside of here, which had all kinds of magic happening to it and was overly complex. Great. I like it. Okay. So this actually looks really good. I think the only thing I want to do is I want to clean up some of the breaking changes here, right? So the expander assist and the style names, but I think we can cheat. I think. So proof is in the pudding. Let's fire this guy up and at least run through the expanders on the demo app. And then we may write a couple tests just to make sure that this thing works correctly. So, what is your problem? Unable to start debugging. Well, figure it out. So for those people who have been following along, there is this new UI test. Oh, I never whacked this guy. I should get rid of this. There is this new UI test project. And I think This looks like it's probably too old to have my, yeah, because this has Appium in it still. That's why this is still here. The latest master has new stuff using my Xaml test framework. So we'll rebase this sucker and have some fun with it. Or maybe we'll merge it and then go do the tests for it. Either one's fine. Either one's fine. Again, I don't require people to go through and write the tests for their pull requests. If you know how, I would appreciate it. It saves me a lot of work and it means your stuff merges faster. But if you are unsure of how to do UI tests or unit tests or what needs to be tested, that's fine. Still, like, I welcome the pull requests. Ask questions. I'm happy to help you if you want to learn it. Yeah, that looks nice. Or I'm happy to go through and add the tests as well. Again, I try to make this library as easy for people to contribute and get involved in as possible. And I do not want testing to be a barrier to entry. Oh, that went up. The only thing that interests me is it seemed like that first click, it's a jump. It's like there's an initial state there that's off. Because subsequent clicks, it's fine, right? And let's go horizontal. Yeah, that first click is a jump. It's not an animation. Yeah. Yeah. No. So yeah, the first one's a jump, and then it animates. So we got one bug. Got one bug. We gotta find that bug. But overall, I like these changes. So I think we're going to do a couple things. We're going to fix it so there's no breaking changes, so we can ship in 3.2.0. We'll go and add the removal of these things to the breaking changes in 4.0. Yeah, and away we go. But before we get carried away, I want to find this bug. This one intrigues me. So let's go find it. So that is almost assuredly going to be in WPF themes. It's going to be somewhere in this expander. Where's expander? Am I blind? A, B, C, D, E. Okay. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to relaunch, and I want to attach Snoop to this guy. But I want to know what I'm looking for first. So we click the toggle button. Yeah, toggle button don't care about, right? That guy doesn't matter. That guy doesn't matter. It's going to be in the expander itself. So yeah, toggle button styles don't care. It will be in the expander style though. So this guy here, from collapse to expanded. So this is the style that should be triggering. Opacity go from 0 to 1. That's fine. All right. Target property from 0 to 1. I'm wondering if it's this guy right here, right? Because on that expand, that's immediately what jumps out at me. So 0 to 1. So let's go with, well, how do I know on this guy, right? So we can test this pretty easily. So this is scale Y. So let's do scale Y. I'm a little surprised. Hold on, if that's the expander there, how does the other one work? Wait, what? I'm missing something here. So on the expander, how do we flip for the expander direction? Because this is always going to scale Y, which is great. Okay. So hold on. So if it's horizontal, we'll change the header site. So jump me there. Does the header site contain the... This is the rotate transform. All right. What is... Hang on. How do you know... Toggle button... Oh, because the... Okay, I got it. Because the content is inside of this too. Okay, so that's how that works. So even though this guy's the one's expanding... Still confused. Wait, because this is the content panel and the content presenter. How do you know? Somebody has to be changing. Oh, I gotcha. Because the content is always vertical, right? Even if the header site rotates, right? Because the header is what's switching, right? The content is always, so even here, right? Oh, that did not go well. So that is definitely not it. Okay, so let's save and confirm. Let's just confirm the bug reproduces. Yeah. So the bug reproduces where it just jumps. So the question being, this content site scale transform does not animate the first time. Why? So I kind of want to look at the border content site here. So let's grab everybody's favorite Snoop. And if it's not your favorite, it should be. Okay. So let's go here. We're going to grab this guy here. So if we go and look, we have the expander and the content site, right? So this is the... Oh, that one's the one I already expanded. So let's pick on this guy, border, content site. Right, so he is small. He has 0 height allocated. So I'm interested in things with height in it. I'm interested in how, because I kind of want to watch the height and the scale. I don't know how to do that, so we're just going to go with height first. So that height just jumped with no animation time. Interesting. And now the content site appears to have... Wait, no, it's gone. Okay, so I'm thinking my initial change broke something. So we're going to go back and try this one more time. I think occasionally the hot reload stuff, especially if you start editing templates and storyboards inside of visual state transitions, it gets very confused very fast. Let's see. Expander. Okay, so just verifying it reproduces. Okay, so it does reproduce. We're going to pick on expander 1B now. So move you to the side. So let's see here. So I am specifically interested in the content site, looking at its height, right? And so jump, animate, jump, animate. So that's fine, right? So if we go inside of here, let's see which element has that scale transform on it. So it is the content site has the layout transform directly on it. Let's see, content site. I want to look at layout transform. and specifically the scale Y. So if I expand it, we see the animation happen there. It's going fast, but it's interesting. Why is there an nope, there's no warning there, so I'm not entirely sure why Snoop is going red, unless that's simply the storyboard is holding it at that value at the end. But now we see the nice animation. Okay, so let's jump down to the next expander that we haven't touched yet and look at the same thing, right? So content site, I want to look at, let's see, layout transform. So scale, so it's interesting, scale Y is already at a 1. That's probably the reason for the jump. Because it's already there, no need to animate there, right? And then it comes back. Okay, so I think that's the kicker, is whether the storyboard was previously set to be holding that value or not. Okay, so let's go back. That gives me the clue. All right, so the transition, let's see here. Because it's in the collapse state to start. And I think what I want to do is apply this guy from 0 to 1. So I think what we want is, let's see, double animation using keyframes. All right, so we're going to take this off. Actually, I don't know if we need keyframes. I think straight up double animation and just setting the time to 0 is probably sufficient. So same thing here, right? We're going to do, but double animation. I think, is there a, rather than a from and a to, is there just a, I think we're just going to set the to. So there is a difference between not setting from and setting from to 1. Is the from will intentionally reset the value before performing the animation, which is why I'm a little surprised this isn't. We're going to see. We're going to see. I have a hunch this is the problem. I don't fully have an explanation, though. So let's go here. Duration. I think just 0, right? I don't want there, no duration, none whatsoever. I don't want opening animations. Okay, so there's that. There's that. This should be a 1. I think that's what we want. Oh, the other thing we could do. Well, let's give this a shot. I think there's another option, but we're gonna try this first. Because there's two things that a storyboard can do when it ends, right? So when the storyboard reaches the end of its animation, it can either hold the values as they are at the end of the storyboard, or it can allow them to reset back to their original ones. I believe these are resetting back to their original ones, and if we just flip it to hold, it might get us what we want. It jumped. Why did it jump? Well, and more importantly, it's always jumping now. Okay, now I want to look. Pop Snoop, grab the expander, collapse header site, go down to content site. We're specifically interested in the layout transform here. And I am interested in scale. So it's expanded to a 1, goes to a 0. Jumps to a 1, goes to a 0. Interesting. That seems to imply that it's going to the final state first. Because if all we've done is add a storyboard that jumps it to a 1 when it goes to the expanded state, this triggers first and there's no animation through. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Span duration, collapse duration. Yeah, because you see it start animating and then immediately finish. So I believe, okay, we're gonna clean some of this up. Duration, span duration. Oh, hush, Snoop. It's throwing errors on my other monitor. It's unhappy with me. So we are going to, because both of everything in here is expected to run for the entire duration. We don't need to set it on each individual one. And I think what we can do, so rather than all of this stuff here, right? Let's see. It's something like end behavior. Let's look. So storyboard, target property, fill behavior. That's what I'm looking for. Hold end. I think that's what I'm wanting. So let's do the same thing here. We'll clean up the duration. Duration. Let's see. Static resource. Collapse duration. And then I don't need that there, that there. Okay. And then I think what I want to do is fill behavior, hold end again. I'm a little surprised. We're gonna whack these because these clearly are not doing what I expect. I am sort of wondering what the visual state is that it's in. And unfortunately, there's not a way to query that. At least not at the app at runtime, right? So the visual state manager by default doesn't actually know what state the object's in. People have written custom visual state managers that will keep track when a state transition occurs and know what the last state was it transitioned to, but by default that is not in there. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to do that. There was a jump of an animation there. Interesting. What is going on there? Okay, so I think what we're going to do is this, right? The nice part about having these things is we can slow them down. Expanded key time. I think I want to look at how these ones are being used, but I think I want to slow down all of them. Sure, that's fine. Those are just being used on the toggle button, because you'll note that the arrow that does the expand and collapse is spinning 180 degrees. Okay, so expander. Wait, what? It just starts working. Color me confused. Let's try this again. I'm now very shocked. Something is not. I expected to see something different. Okay, what? I got to look at what my diff looks like real quick, because I'm very confused as to how changing the time is doing this. So we moved the duration, we added fill behavior hold end. I have to believe that this is the only possible problem here, right? Something is very amiss, and I am not sure what it is. Jump. I bet you I know exactly what it is. It is incorrect to do the duration change that I did, because if these storyboards do not have, or if these animations don't have their duration, they are left to do the interpolation, or tweening, I think is the appropriate term, or in-betweening. Basically the math to figure out what should the value be incrementally as it goes, right? Finding all the in-between values. And having a longer time allows them to land correctly. I bet you. Okay, let's go back and try this again. Let's try this one more time. Let's just get ourselves back to working. Okay, so port back to the expander. And jump, animate, jump, These ones have the wrong values now. Okay, let's try that one more time. Expander. Okay, so we're back to where we were. But unfortunately, it doesn't tell me. Oh, hang on. I bet you. I bet you the initial state is. I bet you it doesn't have an initial state, and so it's not hitting the transition on the first one. That would make sense. That would make sense. Still jumping. On the 2 expanded. Okay. We are going to just start doing color animation using keyframes. And what are we going to target? We are going to target content site background, because I am getting a little annoyed. Now, I still think that it's not hitting this transition is my working theory. Let's see. So we're going to grab all of you. Paste. Duration doesn't make sense here. Boom, 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 because it's a keyframe. From and to don't make any sense. Let's see. Target property is going to be, let's see, it is a border control, and we want to set its background, right? We want to set the keyframes, and I want to set a discrete color keyframe. And I want to set a value of red at keytime static resource expand keytime. So at the end of this transition, it will switch it to red. Right? And I kind of want to be real explicit here. So we're going to come down here as well. Right, content visibility. This is keytime 0, expanded keytime, and this guy here is going to go green, just because I want to see this happen. Right, so at very explicit times in the storyboard, we're going to just have flashes of color. So if you are sensitive to bright flashes of color, look away. It's going to get ugly. Let's see. So here we go. Okay, color cannot be used to animate property background because incompatible type brush. That is right. We can't animate a brush with a color. But what we can do, okay, what we can do is this. So this is going to look funny. Let's see. Border, background, solid color, brush, X name, testing, value gets transparent. Not value, color. So we just want to change what we're targeting. So we can't animate a brush, but I can certainly animate the color of the brush. So change the target, change what I'm targeting. So solid color brush color. Same thing up here. Target object is testing. This guy becomes solid color. Spelling's hard. Solid color brush color. Color. Okay. Rinse, repeat. Let's try again. So I'm hoping that by seeing this, I can figure out which of these storyboards are actually triggering. Because it does seem like this initial to expanded transition is not being hit. That is my working theory, because that matches the behavior that I think I'm seeing. But flashing red and green will guarantee it. So, straight to red. I don't even know if I saw the green. Interesting. I have it backwards. Okay, so let's change this up now. So rather than red, fuchsia, right? Because reasons, but we'll have fuchsia trigger at the beginning, right? So the first one we never got into this expanded green state, right? Or maybe there's a timing issue with it. But subsequent ones we did get to it, which is interesting. Interesting. Okay, now we're making progress. So let's see. So click. So fuchsia, then straight to green. So it did hit the transitioning one, but as soon as it got there, the green overrode what I presume to be red, then collapse. Fuchsia, then green. So this animation is working perfectly. Why? So let's try this one. Fuchsia, then green. Fuchsia, then green. It's very interesting to me that this guy that claims that he's going from 0 to 1 on the scale is not actually animating from 0 to 1 on the first pass. That is very, very interesting to me because okay, let's start wrapping these things so I don't have to keep moving them around, right? So that is the expand one. Okay, so next theory. I'm wondering if these storyboards are happening in parallel. So let's do a blue here, right? And we're gonna do am I just missing the relationship between visual state and visual state transition? Is that the functional problem here? I'm now curious to see exactly what colors trigger on this. Because the big difference is when you call the transition manager, which is what you use inside of your control to change visual states, you pass a flag indicating whether to use transitions or not. So you can request that transitions get turned off. In addition, depending on the state of Windows, it can turn them off too. So if somebody has gone into like the windowing options and said turn off animations, your WPF storyboards will actually respect that, and so you shouldn't ever make the assumption that your transitions are going to trigger. It's a bad idea. Boy, I'm trying to think of what colors I saw there. So it's definitely fuchsia, blue, then green. There may have been a flash of red in there, but it seems like because the green and the red are firing. So both of these storyboards are triggering at the exact same time. That is interesting. So fuchsia, what is that? Fuchsia, blue, green, fuchsia, blue, green. So fuchsia triggers. Okay, so this is a part where I now get a little confused. WPF, let's see. I want to look at what? Visual transition. I want to understand what the relationships are between these things. So, visual transition, let's make that a little bigger for people. Let's see, examples. When the user moves away from to, right? I am noticing on these samples that they are explicitly setting the generated duration. And then the visual states just simply jump to here. So I think that's part of the problem. Okay, so let's change this up then, right? So what we've got is, so let's take these color things off for the moment. So I think what we do, let's change this because this is probably just me using storyboards incorrectly. So generated duration is going to explicitly get, hold on, that doesn't go here. Generated duration exists up on visual transition, right? And then same thing here. Move this guy up. Generated duration there. Now I think what we can do, so I think we actually want to come down here then, based on what we saw in the sample, right, is we want for the most part, we just wanted to set how long it's going to take these animations to go, right? But we want the actual states declared down here. This makes more sense. Okay, so you are not going to get a duration, right? So Opacity from 1 to 0. I think I just put that in the wrong place. Let's go back. So I want the expanded ones. So expanded, I want to grab you. Right, and I want to put you here. And I don't want to set a duration on you. I do, however, want, actually, I guess what I really want is you first. Not that order matters, key time is what matters. So that goes there, that goes there. Okay, so I don't think I need you in here at all. The same thing with this guy. I don't think I think I need it, right? But I think I need it here, and I think I need the duration omitted. All right, so that goes there. And then I think this whole thing just becomes that. Comment all that stuff out. And so the same thing with collapsed. We just literally take out the entire storyboard. No, this is index was out of. Oh, you're trying to update on the fly. No wonder you're confused. Don't do that, Visual Studio. I'm sure I'm making too many changes for you to keep up with. But once again, I want both of these animations to end up in here. I want to explicitly remove the duration off of them. And I think, let's give that a shot. I think that'll leave us in a better spot. So now we're going to declare how long these transitions need to take. But the actual doing of the thing is in the final state. That did not go well. So it's interesting that it goes big and then does the animation. Okay, I think this is still better. I think this is still better. Let's see, generated duration. This does feel slower than it was, but it could just be that double bounce. All right, so when I click to collapse, did I mess up one of these? So from expanded, we're going from 0 to 1, so make it visible. We are scaling from 0 to 1. So 0 on the scale of Y will be teeny, and then to full size. So from 1 to 0. Ah, the key time on this guy. Let's just turn you guys off. And now I'm questioning if that is the whole bug. Because if the visibility state of the item was being toggled, so hold on, what was it targeting? Content site. I wonder if the whole bug was this guy needs to have his default state set to hidden. We'll test it in a minute. We've gone very far in the weeds. Ha 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 ha. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take everything I've done and throw it away. Okay. Now back here, I think there are a couple changes, right? So we're going to take off the from on both of these, because anytime you move to this state, this seems appropriate, right? These guys down here are explicitly toggling the visibility state. The problem is, as I believe, this guy's visibility needs to default to collapsed, because that's how he starts. So visibility collapsed, right? So he needs to start collapsed because he's going to start in the collapsed state and go bigger, which is why he was starting visible rather than starting collapsed, which is how it should have been. That may have been the bug. Okay. Yuck. I think what I wanted to do, though, so I think we're getting closer. I think we are getting closer. I think I want this guy up here. And I want this guy here. And the difference being that I want this to occur at collapsed key time. Right? This one I want to occur at the beginning, toggle it to visible, then do the animation, right? This one I want it to animate small and then flick the switch off. I'm wondering though, let's try this. I'm wondering if I actually need that visibility. I guess it does make sense for cases of if somebody has like an adorner or something that steps outside the bounds. That might make it's probably worth making sure it stays hidden. Just jumped again. It works fine after the first click. Something is off, and I don't know what it is. So, okay, so next theory, right? Let's start with this. Let's just confirm that it is in fact the visibility state of this guy that causes our bug. Right? Because what we can do is we can remove all things that are toggling this guy's visibility. Right? And see if that causes our problem. The other thing that I'm realizing is I haven't looked at all at the toggle buttons. I just don't think I don't think that's affecting it. Oh. Got it. Why? Okay. Okay, I'm kind of on board with it. So, okay, so let's narrow down our problems then. So let's grab both of these, right? Let's see. This guy here, let's just duration. Oh, stop debugging. Stop debugging. Cannot be debugging during this. This is no bueno. So we're going to get rid of the froms. We're just going to go straight there. Straight there. Duration is 0 on everything. All right. Easing function is kind of pointless with a duration of 0. All right, so we didn't do that. So expanded. So it's so I actually did these backwards, but we're going to copy those real quick. So 1 and 1. Let's see. What are you unhappy about? Oh, I didn't wrap you guys in a storyboard. Goes up. That goes up. Something like that. Okay, so let's give that a shot. I'm wondering if maybe that is the thing that's wrong. It's perhaps because I've got a disjoint between what each of these storyboards is setting. Okay. Muchos better. Muchos better. Okay. I do think I want to grab this guy though. Right? So on collapsed, I do want the visibility to be turned off. And on expanded, I want that guy. Right? I think is the deal. So that's fine there. And then I believe I still want this. Right? So turn visible at the beginning, turn invisible at the end. Yeah, let's give that a shot. So I think that was the answer. The disjoint in the properties being set between the visual state storyboard and the visual transition storyboard were causing the problem. Okay. But let's confirm that now that we've got them in sync. The visibility is still a problem. Because it jumps in visibility. And I'm thinking that might be the key. It's because it's jumping in visibility. I'm wondering if it needs a layout pass to know how big to go. Because it does go visible. I can't imagine we actually need this though. Right? Because anything, the opacity is going to 0. Nothing's going to get rendered. Even if somebody steps outside. The scale is set to 0. The opacity is set to 0. There's no way for any content inside of the expander to do anything weird, right? don't think there is. I think it has to... Okay. I think it has to work like that. And that seems... Oh, that's... Okay, so whatever I've done here only works on the vertical. I've got to do the same thing on the horizontal. Okay, so something is off. And I don't know what it is. I assume there's a scale X. Hold on, let's look at my diff real quick. What did I do? What did I do? White space doesn't matter, white space doesn't matter, white space doesn't matter. We did add the transition, but this is less restrictive, not more. We do have the visibility getting removed. And switch to sync these properties up. Okay, so I guess this is my question. I don't understand how this toggle was working previously. Because something in here is switching the layout specifically for the dock panel. Right, so if I have expand direction right, but this was working without my changes. So how does scaling always scaling the Y somehow translate to width? So here's what I want to do. I'm going to stash these changes and just confirm that this does work the way I think it does. Because I believe everything was fine before I touched it. Because I want to understand now how the vertical ones are working. Expand duration is being set, which is fine. But down here, when the expand direction changes, say from an up or down, right? All it's doing is changing the dock position, right? Dock position of the header site, which is here, right? And by default, the dock panel has last child fill. So it will get bigger or smaller. Expander. So this is now right. I guess there is a subtle change here, right? That is now missing. This is not actually, this is jumping, but the content is expanding vertically rather than coming in horizontally. And I would expect it to expand out horizontally. So that is sort of a problem. The question is how do you address it, right? This is why there was the vertical and horizontal separation before. This is not, I don't believe this is a, Well, target name is a bindable property. Kind of wondering if we set up a trigger that changes the target name. Or just the target property. That doesn't seem like a bad idea. Let's try it, because that would be a little better if we could clean that up. So I'm going to do some new lines here just to make my life a little more sane. With my large font size, there's not a lot of horizontal space, and Xaml likes to indent. So, huzzah, right? So we're gonna do this, format that, format that. Okay, so that goes there, that goes there, goes there. Suppose in the interest of consistency, we do that, there, right? But really, I don't need to change anything here or here. I do need to change something here. Yeah, so the only way the horizontal ones are working is because of the collapse state. They're not animating their X, and they should be. Got it. So real quick, before I get carried away, let's discard those changes, pop our stash. Okay, we'll make rough equivalent changes here, right? Because ultimately what I want to do is X name expand, let's see, to expanded opacity. All right, so we're just going to slap some names on each of these guys. And I think what we'll do is we'll just toggle the property that they're pointed at. All right, so X name gets to expanded. I guess opacity we don't need to change. That one's fine. To expanded scale animation. Right, so same thing with collapsed, to collapsed. We'll do that, we'll do that, that, and this guy we want to give a name to. So X name gets to collapsed scale animation. Okay, let's come down here, format, clean that up. Insert, did not mean to do that. Come down here, come down here. Let's see. X name expanded scale animation. And format, and do roughly the same thing here, right? So boom, boom, boom. X name. Let's see. Collapsed scale animation. Boom. Okay, so down here, what I would like to do is on right and left, we basically need a set of setters. Say that 10 times fast. We'll do them at the end. So setter, property, come back to that, target name. Come on. Collapse scale animation, value, boom. So the property that we want to set on these guys is an attached property, right? So we got to use func syntax like that. Storyboard is not a supported WPF. What is the property? Right? I could have sworn it was parens. That needs. Oh, we're debugging, so we should probably stop that. Here, you go away. I don't need you. You're in the way. And so this should become. Let's see. The property. So this should become scale X. Right? So that's what we're after. We want to toggle all of these guys from Y's to X's. So collapsed. Let's see, expanded. We'll do these in the same order that they are up here, just for consistency. To collapsed. To expanded. And let's go there, right? So we need all of these. So left and right are going to use the same set, right? Those are all fine. Up and down, we're going to actually toggle this to be Y, 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 and Y. Or I suppose we could just not set them and let them revert back to their original values. That's probably better. Okay, let's make sure this works before we get too carried away. Build errors. No build errors. What? Invalid markup. No, don't care. Error list. So what did I do? Storyboard is not a valid what? Show me output. Okay. Why am I blanking on this? When in doubt, the Googles. Let's see. WPF. Setter. Attached property. How about set attached property in setter? Yeah, that's all I want. No, that doesn't. Let's see. Owner type. Which is test behavior, not grid. That is not the same error. Sure. Inside a style, that's kind of what we want. Oh, am I just making this too hard and it just should be this? Is it really that simple? Don't overthink it. I believe the correct term is Yagni. You ain't gonna need it. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. Okay, so static resource helper. To expanded scale animation not found in visual tree. Therein lies our problem. Therein lies the problem. Because before we cheated, I believe previously, and we can double check this, there we were toggling us rather than animating these properties directly. I believe we were animating like the tag property, which works, right? But it then poses some problems, which is why there was converters in there before, and that was clearly causing an issue. So ideally, we'd like to animate directly on this guy, but how do you appropriately animate this guy when the direction changes? Because we know we can go through and change it. We know we can go through and change it with an extra binding in the middle. I'm just worried that the moment I do that, we're going to go right back into the bug that we started with. So if we look here, all right, so blah, blah, blah. So I guess it does sort of depend a little bit on what change was actually the biggest performance hit. So let's see here. This is still toggle button, toggle button, toggle button, and header style toggle button. Great, great, great. Expander. So there was all of this. Trying to look at what this was doing. There was a toggling of visibility. There was the opacity. So yeah, the scale transform was doing ridiculously weird stuff. And then there was fancy stuff happening on this guy. So as the opacity animated, this binding was switching based upon the expand direction. So again, this works, right? So I was wrong when I said it animated the tag. The storyboard animates opacity. This scale transform then went through and animated its scale X and Y through a multi-binding, going through a converter that effectively did a math.pow on this, which I have no doubt is what likely had significant performance impacts, right? Raising things to fractional powers and trying to do that multiple times a second is probably not overly efficient. Whereas it would be much better to just animate scale X and scale Y directly. The problem being how to reasonably do this. What else does, because this guy really only has center X and Y. Part of me is wondering if it makes more sense to apply a rotate here. Does that actually make sense? It's a little weird because if you apply a rotate transform here to this guy, well, does that work? you need to apply an inverse rotate to this. But is that okay? But is that the simplest option? It would allow the storyboards to stay pointed at scale Y. Would that actually expand in the correct direction, though? So let's give that a shot, right? So if I do a rotate transform, right, and I set its angle to 90 degrees, right, and then I come down here, and on this guy, this grid here, let's just do it right on this guy, and on the grid I go grid, let's see, layout transform, right, and I do a rotate transform angle minus 90 degrees, right? Oh, that's still not going to work because it's, yeah, no, stop. You're still going to be unhappy because you're not going to find those things in the visual tree, which is really, 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 really unfortunate. Just had a thought that I could pull them out and put them in the visual tree. That will be another thought here in a moment. What is your problem? So expander layout transform can only be set once. Right. Transform group. That makes sense. I'm not actually even sure this is going to do anything because this is going to rotate the parent. But that might be good enough. If we rotate the parent and then switch the child back. It's getting late and my brain is not processing transforms in my head very well. So that looks funny there, but it actually works here. So now our content stretches correctly. Okay, I like this option better. Let's see. So we are going to get rid of all of the X names on these guys because we are not going to do that anymore. Get rid of all of those guys. And then let's come down here. I like this better. I think I like this better. I think. Not sure. Pretty sure. Let's see. X name, content site, rotate, transform. And we'll take the angle off of there. Do I already have? I might have a negation converter already in the library. Math converter. Yeah, we can just do multiply by -1. So we're gonna, you are going to be binding. Let's go and grab that converter real quick. So I'm gonna need you in my resources. So control template resources. Let's see, math converter. Come on, figure it out. Thank you. Let's see. Key negate value converter, and the operation will be multiply. And actually, maybe we should call it multiply value converter because negation is kind of coming from the parameter. So come down here. Come down here. Let's see. Binding element name is going to be content site rotate transform. Converter. Don't do that. Static resource. Multiply. Why are you not showing up? That one. Multiply value converter, and then converter parameter will be -1. All right, so that'll make sure that this guy's angle is always the inverse of this guy's angle. And so then down here, what we do, you know, you're always going to be instead of hard coding it to 90/90. So that is a good question, Musical Bookworm. So I think I actually have. Well, let me think about this before I put my foot in my mouth. I was thinking I would also end up with 180, but I guess you're right. I don't need to change it. Yeah, okay. I believe you are correct. It is probably more advantageous to go through and just hard code both of them and give this guy a name. My only reason for initially going down the multiplication route was the idea that I wanted to set this once and not worry about making sure that I got the other one correct, but I think you're right. I don't need to worry about that as much. So let's see. This guy becomes, because this is going to be a do it once, and then as long as you don't mess it up, it should just work. Let's see. We content panel rotate transform. All right. So let's see here. So down here, let's see, setter property, and I believe we're always going to just be doing angle. Target name. You are not going to be friendly, so rotate transform. So if expand direction is to the right, let's think about this. I believe that's 90, right? And so we'll just duplicate this. Because we'll know in a minute. If I get this wrong, it's going to be going to invert the other ones. So then this guy here becomes the opposite. So -90, forward 90 for left and right. Okay, let's give it a shot. Worst case scenario, I got it backwards and we invert the values. Oh, come on. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong now? Let's see. Kind is not recognized or accessible. Expander assist. Those are all fake errors. Where's the real error? Content site rotate transform. Am I missing something? Wasn't necessarily criticizing. I've lived mostly in WinForms and backend SQL for the last decade, so I didn't know if there was some reason that having the negation would be better or not in WPF. No, the only reason for going for the negation is so that I only had to set things once, and I didn't have to worry about making sure that these values were always inverted from each other. That was the only rationale. But given that part of this bug of what it was fixing was the performance of going through converters, it's probably best to avoid converters. It's probably a reasonable thing. Though now, why are you not... Are you not able to find... Oh. No. I'm a little confused why this guy is not finding it inside of here. You're not going to make me try to go all the way through that, are you? Please don't make me reference it all the way from the top. One failed. Come on, where's the error? Show me the error. Don't hide it from me. Excuse me. Just want to see my one error. Oh, stop going there. Just humor for a moment. I'm curious why it's breaking there. And is it just going to move down to the next one? 284. Yeah, it's just going to the next one. Okay, so you... let me guess. You're going to make me reference it from all the way up here, aren't you? Yuck. Yuck. I'm still a little confused why it's not giving me... So what I'm trying to avoid doing here is... so on the old diff, I think there's probably a good example in here. Previously, we were referencing all the way in to the storyboard using very deeply nested, where are they? Paths to get all the way in to the transform. Let's see. Where is... Yeah, this ugly mess. And yuck. Let's try it. What could possibly go wrong, right? So let's see. So this is going to be no longer render transform. This is going to be layout transform. Transform group. The rotation is the second child in there. Okay, so what line do we err on? Can't find property angle. What? Cannot resolve the template property parent angle. Style, target type, or class property. I thought I was. Let's see. Transform dot angle. Let's try this one more time. Why are you going to be such a pain? I don't like my choices here. I don't like my choices. So I don't see a reasonable way of getting access directly to this element here without doing something a bit hacky. Because it needs to be, so this one would be easier to work around, right? Because rather than just directly referencing the angle, we could reference the layout transform of the grid and apply it here, right? And we would just slap in the rotate transform as part of the setter. And that's easy because this guy is part of the visual tree. This would require inserting an item into the transform group, and I can't just blindly set the transform group outside of here because I have the visual states that are reliant on this guy existing. Even though we know he'll be there, he's not quite there. Man, that is really, really unfortunate. So the other thought that I have is this guy could reach out with a binding and look at the expand direction. The only issue there is I'm now back to writing a converter. The difference is this converter isn't going to be something that's going to trigger during animations. It's only going to trigger when the expand direction changes, which is fairly infrequently. Typically once, right? You set the expand direction of your expander, and usually you don't change it, right? I'm wondering if that's the easiest way to do it. Is that the easiest way to do it? I think that might be. I think that might be. Because then I'm not doing it here. And I'm actually wondering, if it matters if it's positive or negative 90. I don't think it's going to. Because ultimately, the scale y is still going from 0 to 1. It doesn't matter whether it's left or right. Because effectively, the expander is going to fill in place and grow the direction of growth is going to be based upon its container, not based upon which side is getting bigger. So really all I need is a 90 and a negative 90, or 2 zeros. That seems like it might be the easiest option. Okay, let's look here. So let's go back. So new item. Expander rotate angle converter. Long and verbose, kind of ugly, right? Value converter, and I am intentionally going to make it internal. In general, that's my default setting until I'm confident that I like an API, and I'm not confident I'm going to like this API at all. So let's do, actually we can just do return value switch, boom, right? No, it's switch like that, right? And then we can do, what is this type? Expand direction, is that, I think it's just expand direction. That guy. Let's see. Left. Expand direction. Right. I guess we can still invert these, right? And then default for up and down will be that. Semicolon. That is not how you do an underscore. So for people who haven't seen this is new C#8 syntax. The switch expression So it lets you do effective pattern matching. So rather than the normal switch statement, the switch expression lets you put in type pattern matches. So if this thing matches this type and value, it will return, this switch expression will return 90. If it matches this, it'll return that 90. Otherwise, it'll return 0. So they've overloaded what the underscore means in this case. Usually it's used as a discard character. So a lot of times if you see an underscore used by itself, the compiler will actually not bother to allocate space for said variable, and it'll just know that it's being thrown away. So you can sometimes have minor performance gains. So if parameter, let's see, we're just having fun at this point. So this is more, why am I blanking on the name? Pattern matching. Wow, that was harder. This just says match any non-null value. So if parameter is non-null, and I'm very torn whether I like this or this. The only advantage of the pattern matching is now not null, right? So you can, with the pattern matching, you can project into a local variable that will only be set in the case where the pattern match is true. In this case, it really doesn't matter, because we're just going to abuse this guy here. So I think what I want is double factor gets 1.0. Factor gets, how about, is not null, and double try parse. So here's what we're going to do. Is not null, parameter value, and this is why the pattern matching exists. So you can just start nesting everything you want into a single if statement. So toString, match there, out, double factor. Actually, this is actually getting more complicated than it really needs to be. So let's, because really what I want is if it fails to parse, factor needs to go back to 1, because I just want to know to do multiplication, right? Times factor. But I'm not 100% confident I care too much. This way I can do it all in one shot. Let's see. IntelliCode. Oh, you're great. It noticed that I was multiplying everything by factor, and it conveniently offers to do that. Thank you, IntelliCode. No, we're not going to do 0 times anything, actually. But thanks for offering. Okay, so let's go back here, back up to here. Let's see. Let's do the control template resources, and we will slap our converter in. X key. Boom. That guy goes there. Yeah, that'll work. Why are you unhappy? Oh, because we did not include the namespace. There we go. Okay, back down to here. So we're no longer going to do with an X name. We're going to do with an angle. We're going to do a binding. And we are going to do relative source. We will do ancestor type of expander. So that'll go find me the first one. We want to grab, let's come back over here. This is going to get big and ugly. Path, we would like to grab expand. Wow. Expand direction. Right, so we're after this guy. And then we want to apply our converter. Yeah, you know it's getting late when I can't type anymore. Let's see, and paste. That guy goes there. And I believe we just grab this whole thing, the exact same thing down here, and converter parameter gets -1. Give it a shot. Worst case scenario, it blows up in my face, or doesn't even compile like that. What is your problem now? Expand rotate does not exist in Xaml namespace. Of course it doesn't exist in that namespace. Try that one again, buddy. You did so good. That is not. That's not the namespace that we want. Let's see, XML namespace. How about converters? CLR. Namespace. Let's see, material design themes. WPF converters. That guy. That's the one we want. Try again. Okay, compiles. That's the first test, right? Okay, so let's see. Expander. Let's take a look. Thinking. Hey, it launched. Okay, up and down work. There. Oh, so much better, so much better. Oh, it's so pretty, it's so pretty. That makes me feel much better. There, because this is the down, this is the up. I believe we can double check that. So the first one doesn't have an expand direction, which is down by default. The second one has an expand direction of up. Great. Let's see, these guys here. Expand direction left. Expand. Where's the second expander? That's the header. There's the second expander. Expand direction right. So left and right are both being tested here. So that expands to the right. That expands to the left. Goal! I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. Okay. Boy, I'm gonna go. I'm already over my usual length of stream, but I really want to finish this pull request now. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick commit because we got this working, and before I do something crazy like break it. So fixing two issues. One, initial click did not animate. Two, left, right, expand direction should have content scale horizontally. Okay, so there's that. So the last thing we want to do before merging this is this PR has several breaking changes, and we want to go back and make them non-breaking, at least from an API perspective. So let's take a look at, so we don't need that anymore, this guy. So let's take a look at each of these files real quick and evaluate. So expander assist. So there used to be all of these properties, and I think I think what I want to do is bring all of these properties back in and flag them as obsolete. So let's see, expander assist. So they aren't going to get used, but if somebody's using them, their code won't necessarily break. It'll just be meaningless. Let's see, so region obsolete, remove in next major rev. So we'll put these guys back in, but I do want to go and do obsolete, bring that guy in, and we should leave a good message. This will be removed in the next major version. Use, let's see, this is left, so it'll be horizontal padding property instead. So if people are using these, we want to give them reasonable messages there. Same thing with all of the rights. Right and left get the same thing. Up is going to, we're going to change this, use vertical. Right, but we're effectively going to do the exact same thing. So that these guys can merge. And the only reason I'm doing this is the next version that I want to send out the door is 3.2.0 from 3.1.0, and part of semantic versioning says no breaking API changes on a minor version rev. Things are done in a backwards compatible manner. So this is backwards compatible from an API perspective. So somebody can, if they're still referencing this, it'll still be there, just won't do what they expect. They'll get nice obsolete warnings and be forced to update. So let's see, and I think what I would like to do is flag this pull request while I'm thinking about it with visual breaking change. So, because this is one of those areas where it gets a little complicated due to semantic versioning, is when for theme libraries like this, what counts as a breaking change? Because some people would argue that if the UI changes, then it's a breaking change. The problem is that would make pretty much all changes in this library breaking changes. So that's not a good idea. So my compromise on how to handle this is I simply go through and put this tag on here. So if you're ever looking at closed items in a release and you see this, pay attention, because it means something in here changed that will cause the look of your controls to potentially be different, right? So specifically, if somebody was using these properties because they wanted to have some custom padding, this isn't going to work anymore. They need to update. Okay, so there is that. So I'm guessing this guy, yeah, this was just the update to the new property. So there's the diff for that. So that handles expander assist. So the other one is this guy, because there were some styles in here that have gotten removed, and unfortunately I'd like to see about bringing these back. So let's, before we do the buttons, let's do the expander. Vertical header style, let's see. So actually I guess expander itself didn't change. So these are probably styles that I'm guessing people aren't using directly, maybe, but they are technically there. So what was the change here? Expander. So okay, so we're gonna bring this guy back. So back over to here. We're gonna put him back. We're gonna just self-close him, and we will, based on static resource, right? Because both vertical and horizontal can now be based on this guy. And again, we'll leave these here. Let's see, put a comment on it, because there's not a great way to put obsolete on a style. To be removed in next major version. Do that. And I'm guessing I've got pretty much the exact same ones, right? So there's the up header style, and I expect I've got down header style, which is going to be pretty much the exact same. Self-close. Base it on the same guy. Same comment. Okay. There go those. And I assume we've got, yes, left and right. I imagine are probably right in the same vein here. So let's see, based on static resource, and we will do this, bring that guy in, and I think I can derive what the last one's going to be. And right, copy, paste. Extra points for knowing how to keyboard. Okay, so those guys are back in, and that's no longer a breaking change. So if anybody happened to be using those styles, they will still work. Just in case anybody maybe retemplated their own expander control and was reusing these things. So that will be in there, and I think that is it. So we will do another commit. Let's see. Putting back old APIs to make this a backwards compatible change. These will be removed in 4.0. Great. Commit, and I think we push this, and that should go all the way through. And while so that should kick off the build check, right? So this guy's going to go and start doing, DevOps will go and do its thing and pipeline that. But while it's doing that, what I'd like to do is I keep a running list of all breaking changes that are coming. The list is getting longer. Let's see here. Not that. I want to edit this. So if people also have ideas for things that they would like to see changed that are breaking changes, feel free to comment on this one. Let's see. Remove obsolete expander styles. Expander styles. Let's see. Remove obsolete. It was header. Expander assist members. Members. There. Now, this way I don't forget to do it, and they all get cleaned up. So this guy's running, and once this guy confirms that I haven't broken anything, I think we just merge it in. So that took a lot of work, but it was, so I'm trying to remember, is it Oli, I think? Oli? Good work on this, by the way. This expander control is by far one of the more complicated ones. Hey, Metal Slug, doing good. Just spent a lot of time going through this expander control PR. There was a few tiny bugs that took a lot longer than I'll like to admit, like the whole stream, but they should be fixed and going in. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I didn't want to push this out to the 4.0 release and go back and put some of those APIs back, because this is a major thing. And I will admit, I'm pretty sure I'm the one to blame for the performance degradation. The expander control used to be fairly performant, and then there was some bugs with it, and I fixed the bugs. The bugs went away, the thing rendered correctly, and now this guy goes out. What I will probably do, I don't know if I'm going to do it, so I'm definitely not doing it tonight because it's getting late. But the latest stuff on master does have my XAML test framework on it, so I am probably going to go through and do some UI tests around this, because having tests to verify like the horizontal versus vertical expanding is things that we should have had tests on in the first place, and now we can actually write those tests. So I plan on building those out. So for anybody who's my build failed. What happened? Expander direction converter could not be found. What? Did I not save something? Expander direction converter. That's my new one, isn't it? No. Where's it being referenced? Expander direction converter tests. Didn't we... I thought this pull request deleted those tests. Did I accidentally bring something back? I didn't edit anything in the tests. Okay. Why does this... Is there something in like the CS project that's referencing it? Okay, what did I do wrong here? So WPF tests, converters, expander direction. Okay, so WPF tests, converters. Huh? Well, I'm very confused why it thinks that this needs to be files changed. I'm fairly confident that that test was removed. There, I'm also noticing direction is misspelled, so that's a nice clear filters. That's almost assuredly something I did when I wrote that. I am very, very confused. Why? Like, I completely agree that this test will fail because that thing doesn't exist. Let's just jump to DevOps and go look. Why? What commit did you pull? OF8D5F9. Wait, what? Did I just miss it in the lineup? Okay, show me that commit. This has my... Oh. One shows the end, one shows the beginning. Great, great. It's exciting. Expander direction. So let's just go and look and see. Like, I realize that that guy is not actually there. WPF tests, converters. That file is gone. I'm very, very confused. There's a button on here that says kick it again, and I'm looking for where that is. Shows the annotation. So back over here, there's one that says rerun. Because we could, well, let's start with the obvious, right? So in here, I should be able to run all the tests and get exact same results. If there is a test failure, I should see it. Though I should have been failing the build according to the pipeline. It just baffles me how this thing was able to check out that commit and land on that file. Yeah, because it should. It's almost like it got a cached copy of something and so I should be able to. Oh, I'm not logged in as the right user. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Let me switch accounts. And I can go in and force run it. Yeah, sign in with a different account, please, Microsoft. Oh boy, this is rerunning UI tests. I would show you, except for it requires moving the mouse, and unfortunately it has a control of my mouse. Let's see. Okay, so now we come back in here. Pipelines, pipelines. Rerun failed jobs. Yes, because I am convinced you have lost your mind, DevOps. I would like to see you rerun that. Because I am not convinced you did the right thing. Okay, DevOps, show me what you can do. So I'm going to let that one run one more time. So I believe the only tests I should have seen fail are the UI tests. Yeah, so the rest of the tests are running locally. So I don't know how it managed to pull the wrong, especially since it reported that it ran the correct commit. How it was able to pull and build that, I don't fully understand. I may end up having to go back and look at that old build just to see if I can diagnose it and figure out what went wrong, because in general this pipeline has been fairly reliable. Usually when there's problems, it's been self-inflicted wounds of I've done something stupid. The .NET restore that takes forever because NuGet restores. Come on, baby. You can do this. Part of me really wants to just abuse my admin privileges and click the merge button. I shouldn't do that. That is bad. This guy should run. And he should work. Oh. Hold up. Hold the phone. This guy is not, something is not right. So this guy, the fact that I'm seeing Xaml test being referenced here means that we have the wrong commit. This is checking out and running master, not the PR. So what is going on there? That is not a good thing. Let's see here. So solution items, pipeline. Show me exactly what you're doing. So triggers on PRs into master and release, which the release is kind of a dead thing. That was only there to support AppVer. Okay. I'm a little confused. We're not doing anything fancy in here at all. I mean, this is a slightly older version of this, but check out material design. So what was your checkout command? Add origin, get init, extra headers. Get checkout, refs remote, pull 986 merge. Okay. So is this trying to tell me that if I merge this, the deletion for the test is going to cause the build to fail? Or that there's an extra thing on, okay, I think that's what that is telling me. So let's do this. Rebase on master. Boom, go. That's the problem. That right there. Okay, so the short version is there was an update to the tests on master that was going to cause the file to stick around, but the file was deleted on the branch. Okay. Therefore, when it did the merge, it kept the file, caused the build to fail. That is obnoxious. So rebase, force push, and away we go. Which is just so exciting that I'm able to force push to other people's forks. So thank you for leaving that checkbox checked when you open a pull request. Okay, so this guy should go now. I believe now that that's there, so yeah, you reload, and now we should have no more problems. Because if I look at the test, yeah, that converter test is gone. You'll also note the demo app that was there before is gone, and this guy here is gone. It does bother me a little bit. This guy seemed to claim that I had botched my NuGet release. Did I do something wrong? Yep, I did something wrong. That's not a good sign. This was supposed to be 0.0.3. Well, I got some work to do there because that's not supposed to do that. That's okay. We can fix that. For those people who are interested, there is a stream that I did with Phil regarding this. Shameless self-promotion. Real quick. So, for anybody who's interested, YouTube. So, whenever I reference my old streams, those are the ones that I'm talking about. But this guy here, I believe, is the one with Phil. That's the Xaml test one. Where's the one with Phil? Where's Phil? I know he's in here. Let's go videos. Oh, great. My live stream has also got the wrong title on it. Apparently, Restream did not update it when I clicked the button. That is exciting. This one. Why is this one not in the right? This one is not in the right groups. Let's just fix that real quick. Let's just fix that. Oh yeah, it's not in any playlist. Let's see, DevOps. Yeah, done. Let's see. actions to... Really? Thank you. I've been using Restream.io, and I clicked the button for update all my stream titles, and it claimed it did so, but apparently that is a lie, which is exciting. So, for example, right? Stream title, update. I clicked it. It claimed it updated all of them. Okay. So I apologize for anybody here expecting John or Diego. That is a bold-faced lie tonight. Yeah, sure. I'll come back and update this more later, but that'll at least get it going. So, but if anybody's interested in seeing the GitHub actions for that library, it's a simple NuGet, so it might be Twitch, though. It isn't always very reliable. Yeah, I'd like to blame Twitch, except for my YouTube notification says that it has the same stream title, the same wrong stream title. So they both are wrong, which makes me want to blame Restream.io. Which is disappointing. But I will go through and manually fix them after this and get them adjusted. But thank you for the heads up. But yeah, so the Xaml test library is a very simple NuGet package. And given that my version number is backwards. Hey, Musical Bookworm, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. Unfortunately, we are just about done for the night because my sanity is quickly plummeting to the lake. Sila? I'm probably butchering that. You can tell me. It's okay, you gained a random dev streamer follower who couldn't sleep and came from .NET Interactive but stuck around for some material design instead. Cool. If you're actually interested in the .NET Interactive stuff, Musical Bookworm, that YouTube link just up there in the chat, last week's stream with John and Diego is out there for people who want to go and see it. The short version is, well, here, let me see. I think I still have it in a working state. I'm going to grab it real quick. I'm not going to promise, but I'm going to grab it. So, because this stuff is just, and this consumed me over the weekend, and part of why the material design library didn't get as much love as it normally gets is I've been fascinated with this. As John and Diego put it, they nerd sniped me because they knew I would submit pull requests with more stuff. So I've got this WPF app. I won't go through all the magical details, but the short version is it's got a bunch of the .NET Interactive code that runs on startup. So we fire that guy up. Okay, so he launches. He's a basic WPF app, not overly fancy. He's got a little bit of text on him. So I don't know what state I left my workbook in, so I'm just going to restart its entire kernel. And then we're going to connect to that WPF app. Okay, so we are now connected, and we now have this WPF kernel that we can act on, right? And so you can do things like execute code blindly, right? Just run. So this code ends up running inside of this WPF app. But we can go down here and we can start doing some really, really fancy stuff. So like, for example, this guy here is going to change the background of the main window to fuchsia, because fuchsia. And then it'll actually use a custom renderer to show what the background brush is. So background got set, and then we've got this little custom renderer. You can see that we do some fancy HTML rendering of the color here, so you can see it. So showing all of this off. There's a pull request on last week's video, or I should say there's a link on last week's video to a pull request that's now been merged into the .NET Interactive samples that has all of this code on it as well. So let's see, what else? We can do fancy stuff with like our view model, where we go through and we just say, hey, let's just swap in a different view model, and then, so this guy swapped out the view model, and then we can go through and we can actually just start editing that view model instance that we created, and the binding works. This, in my mind, is awesome. absolutely awesome. And it gets even cooler when you realize that you get full IntelliSense of your custom types that are over in this app, right? So app dot main window dot, title, background, all of that stuff. My new title. See, this is what I mean by it's late. I can't type anymore. Let's see. Oh, semicolon expected. You can't have a terminating expression at the end. But now it updates to my new title. So that's what last Friday's stream was, is me, John, and Diego getting all of this working and just kind of having a lot of fun at it. And then I spent a little time, pull request, and I want to get this, I want to take this a little further. My next goal, because ultimately this seems like a really awesome merge into the Snoop library. Let's see. Cool. Thanks for the quick demo. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep you up even later. No problem. Something you'll learn about me very quick is I love it when people ask questions, and I don't mind getting nerd sniped onto other stuff. It's a fault, but I do it a lot. So, but yeah, so I would love to have it because this .NET Interactive stuff, you can pull in NuGet packages. So I would love to have a NuGet package that you can reference, and you don't have to actually write code inside your WPF app. I would love it if all you needed was the workbook. Reference a NuGet package here, because I believe it's like #R, and then you can put the NuGet package name. And then just start doing all of this kind of stuff. I think that would be totally awesome. Effectively have it work the same way Snoop does. And then I realized that it would be even cooler to just commit it back to the Snoop library. So if and when I ever get this working, and if the stuff actually gets out there, that is hopefully a plan that I would like to do. Because I think there's some really cool integrations that could happen between Snoop and .NET workbooks to go back and forth. Because Snoop, I think, will always be probably the preferred option for the UI interaction. But this, for any of the code interaction, I think is significantly better. So that's my game plan if I can make it work. So we'll see how it goes. It's been mildly frustrating because a lot of the stuff is very much still in preview states and isn't all the way there. So it's getting better and it's coming along. So cool. Anyone else have any more questions before I kind of call it for the night? Because I think I'm probably going to crash. The Mountain Dew is going to wear off and I'm just going to tank. Given that my typing's already kind of in the toilet. And thank you guys for the new follows. I appreciate having everybody come and jump in here. For all the new people, I usually stream Thursday nights. It's 9 p.m. Pacific Standard for me, which, as I've been recently informed, is basically sleeping time for most of the globe, which is unfortunate. So if you are one of the fortunate people who is awake, congratulations. Or if you're in the US, I'm sorry for keeping you up this late as well. So, but I think with that, I'm going to tell everybody happy coding. Hopefully I'll see people next week. Have a good night, them. Got to go to that Scrum meeting now. It's the start of the day here. Oh boy. Good luck with that. So maybe I'll catch you again next week. Talk to you guys all later.